Ciao, welcome to Delicious Italian. Today what I'm going to be making is some pasta dough, an egg pasta dough with the addition of some nice fresh organic arugula. Now I have some arugula here which I blanched in some boiling water with a little bit of salt, and when it was cooked I drained it and I added it to some ice water so that it would shock it, keeping the green color just as nice and bright as it was when it was fresh and raw. So in addition to that, I have my flour here. I have 2 cups of flour. I have 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks, and I have a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil here. I want to talk about the shape of the pasta that I'm going to make. These are called Corzetti, and they're from the region of Liguria in Italy. And what they are, they're little coins of pasta, and this could be made with an egg dough or with the addition of spinach or arugula or beets or any other kind of vegetable that you like to might like to make into pasta. But honestly, when it comes right down to it, the main thing you get from adding vegetable to your egg dough is color, because the flavor is rather insignificant, and that's just something I'm going to put out there because it's true. These Corzetti are little coins of pasta that are stamped with these stamps here that I have. Now this is from Italy. It's made from walnut wood. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love this. And it has a grape design on one side and olive branch on the other side. And this side of the stamp is the cutter. So you cut the coin and you stamp the pasta between these 2 surfaces. So it's really kind of fun to do. They're gorgeous, and they can be dressed with any number of sauces. Generally we like to do them with a light sauce that won't cover up the design, because the design really is an important part of this pasta, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm just pulsing my arugula here so that it is chopped up a bit, quite a bit actually. It's going to get processed a little bit more when I add the flour as well. Alright, so I don't know if you could see that, but it's kind of finely chopped. I'm going to process it just a little bit more before I add my flour and my eggs. To my food processor, I am going to be adding my flour, and I will process this a little bit more so I could get those all mixed together, the flour and the arugula. Oh, pretty green color, wow. It's kind of pale green, but it's definitely green. At this point, we'll see how it looks when we add the eggs to this. This is looking really good. It's all coming together. I'm going to give it a couple more pulses, and I'm going to add my eggs. The eggs are in there, 2 eggs and 2 yolks, and I'll just process a little bit. It's coming together already. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of my extra virgin olive oil. Now this is an ingredient that isn't always in fresh pasta, and you may or may not want to have it in there, but generally speaking, I make pasta, egg pasta, without any oil in it. I'm just going to be showing you this way today. So with or without the oil. Alright, our egg dough has come together. It's quite wet, and what I'm going to do is put it on the board and knead it with a little bit of flour. So I've put my dough out onto my board, and there's some flour here, and I'm just going to knead it just gently. It doesn't need too much because some of that kneading happened in the food processor. But it is a bit sticky with the addition of the arugula, but don't be afraid to add flour to it. It will not hurt it. Just like any dough that you make on any given day, sometimes it might be a dry day, and you'll need less moisture. On a wet day, on a humid day, you might need a little more flour, and that's what's happening today. I've got some humidity going on outside, but that's not a problem. So we could just add the flour to our dough. And as you can see, I'm just gently kneading it. It is a bit sticky, like I said, so that's why I have my bench scraper here to help me bring this together. Now, anytime you make a dough, you want it to rest and let those glutens relax so that the dough will be easier to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just flour my board a little bit in this area and just put some flour all around it. Just kind of shape it into a little ball there. And I'm going to let that rest for about an hour, and then we'll see how it looks. Our dough has rested for about an hour, and now it is time for us to make this into some pasta. So I'm just going to take a piece off of this and set the rest aside. I'm going to just press it out gently so that it gets a little bit thinner before I try to put it through my pasta roller here. So I'm just pressing it with my fingers. I can put it on the board and press it down with my fingers, always making sure that I have plenty of flour on there so that my dough doesn't stick. Now, beginning on the widest setting on your pasta machine, you could do this by hand, but it is quite a bit of work. If you just want the feel of doing that, by all means do that, but going through a machine makes much easier work of doing this. But really, it's a personal choice. Okay, I've got this thin enough to go through my pasta roller, again, on the widest setting. The speed doesn't matter here, only really what matters is the width here to begin with. Mine isn't cooperating today. Hopefully yours will. Okay, here we go. After it goes through one time, you want to put it through one more time and the same setting after you've folded it together a couple of times, right into the machine here. There we go. We need some more flour on here. You don't want this to stick. It's very difficult to work with if you make it stick. And of course you'll have flour all over you like I do right now. We'll put it through one more time. Adjusting it down one notch so it's thinner. There we go. And you just continue to do that with the rest of the dough. But I'm going to show you how we're going to make these Corzetti now. Now I've just cut it in half just to give myself more space, but I'm going to show you how to make these Corzetti now. Now again, I said that we need a good amount of flour on the dough so that it doesn't stick. But for these Corzetti, it might be hard to see the design if there's too much flour on them. But that could be brushed off, or you can use semolina flour. All right, so we have our dough ready to be stamped out here. Now, I have these stamps. You could see there is my olive branch design, and here is my grape design. Now, this side is the cutter, and we begin by cutting, and then you just place your piece of pasta right on the one side, and then stamp with the other side. Now there you have a beautiful design. We had enough flour on there so it did not stick, but that is pretty. Now if you wanted to trim these edges, you could trim the edge a little bit, but you don't necessarily have to. I suggest that you begin by stamping all of your rounds out, or cutting the rounds, I should say, and then stamping them. and that makes efficient work of this. Now this dough is, you know, not really delicate, but you want to be careful with it. There we go. So I'm just going to place it on the one side. I'm going to stamp it with the other side, and there we have a beautiful design. Absolutely love this pasta. It is so pretty. It's not real time consuming once you get the hang of it, but it's awfully fun to make and just so pretty to make. I'll show you the other side now. And if you don't have enough flour on here, it'll be difficult to get the design to really show, because you won't be able to press hard enough to do so. But as long as you have plenty on there, you can get that design in there without it sticking. Now I have a little hole there, and I can easily re-roll this or not worry about it and just have a little hole in one of my Corzetti. I don't think anybody will mind. They're still pretty that way. There we go, right on top. Now what I was going to tell you about the semolina flour is you could use semolina to keep these from not sticking. If I were making this using a semolina dough, which sometimes I do because sometimes we make semolina pasta instead of egg and flour pasta, then I would most definitely use the semolina flour for that. But the semolina flour does not cover up the design as much as the white flour, and you can use either one, your choice. Continuing on here, using our semolina flour makes it a little less sticky, and sometimes the design shows up a little bit better. Now invariably when you stamp your design, it gets squishes out the round a little bit, and you could just fix it by using the cutter again. So again, we'll just semolina covered, a little bit on the stamp, press it down, and take it off. There we go. These are beautiful little pastas. They're a little tricky at first, but if your dough is a little drier, it makes it a little easier. I do this, like I said, with semolina flour. As far as making the pasta, I always like to make different types of pasta: egg dough, semolina dough. They vary a little bit in flavor. Fun to make either way. And let's cover that with some semolina. So I think you could see that they the design sometimes is a little more visible. Whoops. And occasionally one will stick, and that's not a problem. Just coat it with more semolina this time. There we go. And that is gorgeous pasta. I'm just going to keep making some more till I use up all my dough, and I'll show you what they look like. Here is our finished pasta. I think it's beautiful. I know it will be delicious. This will cook up quickly in some boiling salted water. Preferably dress it with olive oil based sauce or a butter sauce, but not a heavy tomato or meat sauce for this. You don't want to cover up that beautiful design. I hope you enjoyed this recipe video, and I hope you join me again for more delicious Italian. Buon appetito!